Hi, welcome to my channel, or welcome back, loyal viewers. I'm Kerry, the nosy housefrau, and today I'm sticking my nose in on the piping hot tea that is the Chris Hansen Jeffree star interview. Is this becoming all Jeffree all the time? I need new topics. This pandemic is making time go to a creeping halt. Glacial pace, I know. Drama waits for no woman, but now I think I'm waiting for it. Anyway, I'm going to get some coffee, and I took some notes, and we'll get right into it, filming once again in the guest room, aka my pandemic cell, of which I'm climbing the walls. So the 55 minutes begins very after school special with Chris Hansen announcing that it is a very special Have a Seat with Chris Hansen.
For what will be, no doubt, one of the most analyzed, scrutinized, and perhaps criticized interviews that you'll see this year.
And chastised, and supersized, and demonetized. It starts out with Chris Hansen saying that he is going to do what a journalist is supposed to do and be a good listener and listen to Jeffree, which I took to mean I'm not going to put this guy in the hot seat. I'm just going to let him tell his story. I think that was Chris Hansen's way of sort of disclosing right up front that Jeffree was not going to be pinned down on anything. That is my takeaway from that. Now, I did go into Edwin's live after this for an after-show reaction, and it was a veritable who's who of the drama community. And he was talking to Shannon and CreepShow Art, and most people seem to feel, including one of the survivors, that there was a lot of deflecting in this, and one of the survivors was very angry. Forgive me if I get this wrong, Ashley, I'll look it up later. Had said that she was very upset with what Jeffree had to say, which I'll get to in a moment, but her feeling was, she was saying repeatedly, he's no ally. He doesn't care, because if he did, he wouldn't have worded it the way he did. Keemstar came in on the live and said that, aside from people not doing research, that when Jeffree said, and this brings me to Jeffree's main argument regarding his contradictory tweets about Davi, he felt that when Jeffree said that he's thought, because of what everybody was saying, that Davi was the P word, he believed it, but then later he spoke to people who lived with him, worked with him, threw someone under the tour bus, if you will, and because of that, he believed that, and then went with that. That to me makes him look far worse. Once again, this is actually underscoring something I've said in previous videos, that Jeffree has a habit of taking hearsay and running with it as the gospel truth. He's ended friendships over hearsay. So he thinks it's perfectly fine, I guess, to say that, he believed it, so he tweeted it. He said, my tweets have always been dramatic and grandiose. Did he make that word up? Because I don't think that's a word. Did he mean grandiose? I think we have a new eyeshadow name. Keemstar said he felt that was a good explanation. That Jeffree said, I believed this and then I believed this. That is not a good explanation. I mean, it does explain what he was doing, but I don't think that it is viable as something morally sound in most people's eyes. Jeffree stated that he saw things inappropriate but not illegal, and that's very vague, because I don't know about you. If I saw somebody do something I thought was inappropriate with somebody too young, I don't care what the law states in the court of public opinion, in a person's own personal view. That would be all you'd need to see to convince you to stay away from that person. Jeffree, at the beginning, does distance himself by saying that he was never friends with Davi. At the end of the interview, he says he was no longer friends with Davi. His tweets said they were brothers. So there's all kinds of contradictions coming from Jeffree, and nothing getting pinned down by Chris Hansen. Now, I'm not criticizing Chris Hansen for giving Jeffree all of that latitude. It was probably required to get that exclusive. And he did ask some important questions. But what I have a problem with was that in that latitude, Jeffree was allowed to make hearsay accusations with no proof, no question of how he knows that. He started talking about Davi and his relationship with this person, Jay, and saying that Davi controlled him, he controlled the money, he controlled what he wore, and Chris never asks him, how do you know this? That seemed a little unfair to me, to other parties that are not involved, to be able to say all of these things are the gospel truth. You just finished saying that you tweet stuff out based on stuff you hear from other people, no matter how horrible it is, without evidence. And now, because nobody is calling him on it, he's free to make all of these accusations. Davi controlled money. How do you know something so personal? You know, sometimes people get together with other people and maybe they had a different style before they got together, but they admire and like and absorb the style of that other person. It sort of rubs off on them because they're spending so much time together. It doesn't mean that that person is being controlled with money and what to look like, does it? Jeffree went so far as to say that Davi, in the last year of the friendship they didn't have, was jealous of Jeffree, as if to say that that was what ultimately ended the friendship, is that Davi was so jealous of Jeffree. I suppose that could be true, but is it really a good look to always talk about how jealous everyone is of you? I get it. I mean, I'm very happy when I hear a rags to riches story, but you have to shove the riches down my throat every 5 minutes? Of course I'm jealous. You think I don't want a Pomeranian and my own pandemic city to rattle around in? That is besides the point. Back to a loving place. I don't know if that's what ended the non-friendship, but there were certainly a lot of contradictions in that conversation. There were so many instances where Chris Hansen could have said, I wasn't talking about that tweet. Like Chris Hansen would say, why did you make that tweet? And then he would respond about the different tweet, because we're talking about multiple tweets here. So he would say, you know, the tweet where you said he was the P word, why did you do that? And Jeffree would just go right into saying how he made the other tweet saying that he wasn't because he was foolishly listening to other people. It was very much a deflection, and at times it didn't stay on track. At one point, Jeffree says that if he were the judge, Davi would be getting executed by firing squad. I really hope that's based on something solid and not just something he felt today and pulled out of his arse, because that's disturbing. He also said that drama channels, a lot of them are doing this for money. No offense. None taken, like Chris Hansen's a charity. This makes me think if this was a couple hundred years ago and it was a monarchy and Jeffree was in charge, a lot of us would be going to the guillotine. I'm just saying, you'd catch him on the wrong day and he'd be calling his muscle-bound evil henchman, Grandos, take her away. I apologize for the abrupt lighting change. I was talking so much I didn't even notice the sun went down. It got kind of dark in here. It's a low-budget gig. The issue of Jeffree's recent generosity came up, and the fact that he has been doing all of this philanthropy work. It almost seemed like Jeffree had a tighter bullet point for this interview even than Chris did. He was like ahead of him sometimes, saying, I want to address this, I want to address this. And one of the things he wanted to address was the philanthropy, the money that he's been giving away. And I have a rather unpopular opinion, I think, because I feel there's an overwhelming notion that he's doing this to buy himself a good reputation, that he's just trying to pay people off. Here's why I don't think that's the case. Number one, in my experience, very cheap people don't like to give away money. Even if they do it begrudgingly for some other reason or some ulterior motive, it's not in the way or the amounts that Jeffree seems to have been doing. Also, Jeffree has a history of being generous. And he said even when he had nothing, he liked giving. And I think that's true about him. Not everything's black and white. Would I take money from him? No. But I'm not going to take away the fact that he has been doing good deeds for people. And I saw tweets from people who felt that their lives were changed because they got $5,000 when they really needed it. Jeffree says at one point that the focus should be on Davi and not on him. He also says that people like to copy and paste his past and apply it to this. This is skirting gaslighting, because you're suggesting that anyone questioning you is somebody who just has this ulterior motive and is part of an angry mob, a witch hunt. I think it is very fair to ask why Jeffree Star continues to make bold claims without bold evidence, and then gets out scot-free by saying he heard it and that's why he said it. That's not okay. I think it's fair to say that Jeffree Star should have no credibility in future accusations. He even said that Jacqueline Hill, remember, was in a very bad state and might harm herself when he got here for the tea and tea spill to stop their expose on her. He had said that she was in a bad place. She later said she was never in a bad place or at risk of harming herself. So how many fake claims is this guy going to make and then get self-righteous when people call him on it? I'm sorry, that's just fair. That's not me being mean to Jeffree. That's not me wanting to be part of a landslide of hate. I think it is a valid criticism, and I think it is something he should reflect on. I'm not taking away from any good deeds that he did, and I don't want to crucify somebody over their past if they're working to rise above it. But deflection and lies and saying that people are just doing this for money, these things are not a good look, and they don't go a long way to restoring your reputation in people's eyes. I was very glad that they brought up a video I only saw yesterday on CreepShow Art's Twitter timeline. It was a video from about 10 years ago. A young Jeffree is with his girlfriend and saying, after we're with somebody, we like to walk them out the door, but this guy's too drunk. And they film a guy who's very drunk, pants down, but he's wearing underwear. At one point, they're like hitting him in the butt, trying to get him out the door. He is so barely conscious that it's all he can do to sit up and get sick in the toilet bowl. Jeffree is filming the whole thing. They're ushering him out the door. There's stairway in the hallway. I'm imagining another apartment across the way. And this guy is laying halfway down the stairs. He literally does like a flop one way and then would flop the other way. His pants are down, but he's got his underwear on. And at one point, like I said, they were hitting him in the bum. And Jeffree says, pull your pants up, please, go. And now you see the guy almost fall down the stairs, and he's like going to get sick again. You can hear him like retching as he sits up on the stairs, and that's where it ends. And Jeffree says that people aren't asking questions about before and after. I asked on Twitter, was this staged? I didn't know if the whole thing was a joke or not, or if this really happened. Jeffree said that it was right there in the title, just kidding, I wouldn't let this guy touch me. And the guy was very drunk. He admits that. He says the context that's so important is that they usher him outside, they sit and wait with him, they call him a cab, and then stuff him in the cab, and the guy goes away. And that to him is the important context that makes it so much better. He said, the guy asked me to take it down, and I took it down. He was embarrassed. I think there should have been remorse there for ever putting something so personal about somebody up on the internet. This guy was getting sick. You should have gotten him medical help. Even if you didn't, even if you decided that he wasn't about to pull a River Phoenix down the stairs, that you got him in a cab instead of an ambulance and he lived, great. But why would you put that online? I think he was old enough to know better and to know, and even now, he didn't seem to have remorse about it. He's like, he asked me to take it down, and I take it down. He was embarrassed. Of course he was. And Jeffree said the guy was going for a government job, and that nothing happened between them. I don't care. That doesn't make it any better. And the guy was too drunk for anything to happen. He was going for a government job. Maybe he already had a good job that he wanted to keep and didn't want that online. Why would you put that on the internet? I don't get it. And the thing is, okay, you're young and stupid, but feel the proper remorse and apologize for that properly. That's just my opinion, that he should have seemed more aware of how wrong that was, rather than just acting like everyone was just a bunch of crazies coming for him and just jumping on this bandwagon without getting all of the facts. The context didn't make it better in my eyes, and I think that was very indicative of an insensitivity, to say the least. There was a real lack of empathy when this guy's lying on the floor and you're going, did you like effing me? And you're trying to be funny. I just think that was going too far, and that doesn't sit well with me. I don't think he properly apologized for that. Just as an aside, did anybody else notice in the beginning of this video he said he was doing well in spite of his company being shut down right now with the pandemic? I'm paraphrasing, of course. But I got 2 emails this week from Beautylish in the last couple of days saying that they were restocked on Conspiracy and Mini Conspiracy, and I was kind of wondering how that's happening. Does he have a factory somewhere that's able to manufacture? I'd be curious to know. So if you're someone who thinks none of this is that deep, I don't think you're that wrong. And in fact, even when it's deep, it's not that deep. The only thing that really matters here are that victims, survivors get justice, and that Davi is kept away from people because he is a problem, to say the least. I'm saying that clean for the filters. But you and I both know what kind of person he is based on 21 plus women and their testimonies. And that is really what matters at the end of the day. As far as Jeffree goes, love him or hate him, in 6 months he'll have a new palette that will sell out within an hour. And people who hate him will be furious. And people who love him will rejoice. And that's just going to be something you're going to have to decide for yourself about how you feel. I personally vote with my dollars. But I won't be sending someone mean tweets and mean DMs. I've said my piece, and I know when to walk away. And I think that is about as deep as I'm going to let that be for me. A lot of problems are just only as deep as you let them go. And my main concern is for people like Ashley. And I think everybody can agree about that. And whether Jeffree was remiss or not, I don't think he wants to see those people have any harm. they certainly should be the loudest voices that we should lift up. And I will link below some of the people I was talking about: CreepShow Art, Edwin, Ashley, and the other girls, and of course Chris Hansen, who will have on more people as this unfolds. So thank you so much for watching. If you've watched this far, I so appreciate you. Let me know what you think in the comments. I really look forward to hearing your thoughts and interacting with you. So until next time, Hausfrau out.